Hi everyone. I'm grateful for this opportunity. So thank you, Sayet, for inviting me. It's been a long time since I haven't really been um, sharing messages. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. So today I'd like to share to you something about being positively positive during this time. And my first question for all of you would be, are you positive or negative? Well, it depends on how you view it, right? In medical parlance, it's ironic how negative actually connotes good news, and positive actually means that there's something bad that's happened, or like you're positive for COVID, something like that. But in real life, in the real world, positive is something good, right? And negative is something bad. Well, today I'd like you to forget for a little while the medical parlance and focus on being positively positive in the real world. So today I'd like to share to you one of my most favorite verses in the Bible. It's actually the first longest chapter I've memorized during my childhood years, because my mom would actually repeatedly tell me about this verse, and she would help me to repeat it and repeat it until I've memorized it by heart. And that is Psalm 23. So I'd like to share to you my the Psalm 23 of my life. So I hope that you find this inspiring. And so let's start. So for me, Psalm 23, initially as a child, especially the first verse was actually very vague for me. I didn't really understand it. And I know that you know how it goes. Psalm 23, verse 1 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And for me, it's like, I shall not want? What does that mean? And it has only been clear to me when I went to college in MVC that it actually meant that you would not be in want. You would not need anything because you're complete in the Lord. And I'd like to share an experience I've had in medical school. I came to UERM as an full academic scholar, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to maintain it for my second year. So that meant that I had to pay during our time it was 100,000. That was our tuition fee for the semester. And at that time, my parents did not have that big of an amount of money to pay for my tuition in full come the first semester of second year. So it was quite hard. I was actually preparing myself to transfer to a different medical school, but miraculously, God provided in the form of a miracle. It was actually the most unexpected help that I experienced. So one day, we had this classmate during our first year who actually needed help with anatomy, and Jerald was actually helping him and his girlfriend. So they were actually studying, I went with Jerald as he was tutoring them. So what happened was, while I was looking for sponsors, I was messaging any whatever political organizations or those that give out scholarships. I was messaging those, but none of them responded positively to my requests. And one day, an international call came, and it was actually the mother of the classmate that Jerald actually tutored. I actually messaged her a few days back, and I was asking if she knew of someone who could help me, or at least for the first semester, while my parents would be preparing for the next few expenses, for the next few semesters for the expenses. And she was the one who called me. She was in the US at that time, and she called me telling me that she was willing to give me and to help me out for that semester. And so I was very, very, very grateful. I mean, we only met her for the first time. Actually, we only met her once. And then after that meeting, we never really saw her again. But it was a miracle because she barely knew me, and how would she actually think of helping me. And I believe it was actually the Lord that touched her heart to help me. And so, come the day that she texted me that she actually already sent the money. So I was only expecting that she'd give me like enough for the down payment, and then like she'd send me money for the next few more payments ahead every month. But what actually happened was she sent me the full amount to pay in for my full semester. And I believe that was God's working. And since then, I have learned to not really worry about finances. The Lord has actually been very faithful, and I'm sure in your life He will also provide. So that is like the best experience I could share to you about this verse. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So wherever you are, whatever your problems will be it financial, be it academic, or in whatever problem you may have, remember that the Lord is your shepherd. You shall not be in want. You shall not want. You shall not need anything, because He will complete you. And whatever problems may come your way, it's not your problem, it's His. So the second verse is, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. How beautiful is that? And the best experience that I could share to you is probably my board exam experience. Board exam for nursing was not very dreadful for me. I don't know why. I was just relaxed then, but then came medical boards, and it was really different because I knew it was going to change my life. I mean, this is it. It's going to be make or break, and it's going to determine my future, whether I pass or fail. So it was kind of nerve-wracking for me. And the first few days of review, I was really, I didn't really know where to start. It was overwhelming. And I'm sure come board exam for you, you will have that same feeling that you wish you knew everything, but then you know you don't. And then you panic, and then you worry a lot. And then, all those things that come into your mind after graduating from med school, and then graduating from PGI-ship, and then you realize that this is the next step. You're going to get your license, but to get there, you have to study, and there will be a lot of hurdles for you emotionally, physically, socially, whatever problems that may come your way during your review for the board exam. So during my time, imagine being the girlfriend of the valedictorian of your batch, and I was just barely in the middle of the class, when we graduated. So for me, it was kind of a struggle because for the both of us, we like to study separately because he has his pace, I have my own. I don't like to be rushed, and he's very fast paced, and I'm just regular paced. So except for when I have questions, I do go to him for that. But most of the times we study separately, or sometimes we do study together, but individually on our separately. So together beside each other, but separately in terms of studying. And so it was really nerve-wracking for me, and I really didn't have enough confidence in myself, because to start with, after the first year experience where I actually lost my scholarship, and then I never really got to get it back again until my fourth year, that was very, the first year of medical school was probably the most depressing I've ever experienced in my life. It was probably the lowest point in my life back then, because I was actually questioning my how the Lord actually made me. I was like questioning, will I ever make this? Am I really good enough for this? So those thoughts actually came to me. And knowing that your boyfriend is the top of the class and all that, and here you are struggling to pass, something like that. So that actually kind of came back to me during the reviews, first few days of the reviews. But God is faithful. He actually it was Jerald who reminded me that you have to actually put your value in the Lord, not on things that are ephemeral or temporary. So those things that actually not define you, like your grades, like your grades. I can't think of anything else, but yeah, Don't let those grades define you. Don't let any failures define you, because who are you? Who are you in the first place? You're a child of the King, right? So that mindset actually helped me to focus and forget about my self-esteem. I was rather focusing on the thought that I am a child of the King. And this King actually knows the minds of those board examiners, and that he knows what things will come out of the exam. And he who made them is actually the same being who actually made you too. So he's able and capable of showing to you what to study and how to study. So what helped me during that time was actually my relationship with God. And during the board exam, there was a different kind of peace that you will only come to experience when you're actually in that situation. I never really thought that I'd be so peaceful during that first day until the last set of exams that I took. I was so peaceful. I did not know why. And I was at first questioning, shouldn't I be nervous? But I wasn't ever at all. And between those sets of exams, I was actually only reading my Bible too, and replenishing my energy. So that the board exam is kind of like a test of faith rather than a test of knowledge, because you really don't know what the examiners are thinking, and you hope and pray that you are able to choose the answer that they're thinking too. So during that time, it was rather a test of faith, and it's probably the perfect time in your life that you're the closest to God, because every day you worship, you pray, you kneel, and you plead with all your heart that He let you pass. So for me, it was perhaps, looking back, it should have been the most dreadful part of my life when I was actually sitting in that chair in front of my test papers for the boards, which were to determine my life. But then I was at peace because I knew God was with me. So for you, I hope that you also keep this in your heart, that the Lord maketh you to lie down in green pastures, and He leadeth you beside the still waters. So the third verse is, He restoreth my soul, He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. He restoreth my soul. The best experience that I could probably share to you about this is my conversion. I was born to both backslidden Adventist parents who were no longer going to church, and we were actually living in a compound together with my Catholic grandparents. So they were telling my parents that while I still have no choice in terms of my faith, they wanted to baptize me as an infant in the Catholic faith. So they did, and I actually even have a picture to prove that. And so I didn't really have a fixed religion, should I say, during those early years of my life. Although my mom was teaching me songs, she was teaching me Bible verses, and she was telling me not to eat pork and all of those things. And I didn't join Sabbath academic activities in school. And I would tell my classmates that I'm an Adventist, but actually in paper I was a Roman Catholic, because I wasn't really baptized as an Adventist yet. And then come college, I was at the point of deciding whether I would, because I actually already passed the UP college admission test and the Central Mindanao University college admission test. I already passed both exams, and I was already contemplating on going to college with either of the schools near our place, which was Xavier University in Cagayan de Oro, or Central Mindanao University, which was just like 30 minutes away from our place. But God's intervention was that actually came through my grandmother's sister, who was in the US. She was a graduate of Mountain View College School of Nursing, and she was the one who encouraged me to take up nursing in MVC with the promise that she will help or sponsor my college in Mountain View College, because then it was expensive for us and we didn't really, and I was a full scholar in both in Xavier and in CMU. So by God's intervention, I made it to Mountain View College, where I was actually baptized. So I never really planned on being baptized during my first year of college there. I just knew by heart that I was an Adventist, but by paper I was a Catholic. So I had a classmate in psychology. Actually, he was my tutor. He encouraged me, or he invited me to join a Revelation seminar, which I readily joined. Although I never really got to be close with that tutor. He was just a friend. And then he was the one who invited me. And towards the end of the sessions for the Revelation seminar, he did not finish it. I think because I told him that I did not want to go into any relationship just yet. And so he never really finished the Revelation seminar with me, but I think it was God's way of bringing me to the faith. So I finished the Revelation seminar, and when the call for baptism was made, I surprisingly said yes. And then I told my mom and my dad about it, and they were very supportive, as well as my Catholic grandmother. She was there when I was baptized in MVC. And so I think coming to MVC, I never really knew about Ellen White or who she was. And during my first summer, I started summer immediately after I graduated from high school. And I came in late because I decided late for college, thinking that I'd go to Xavier or CMU, but I ended up in Mountain View College, and I enrolled late. So most of the subjects were already full. And I ended up taking the course about Ellen White's life. It was, I forgot, it's something about messenger. I forgot the course, but it was the course where you study about Ellen White and her life. And I never really knew about her. So every lunchtime, I was always at the Ellen White Library learning about her, because I really didn't know her. And that was when I came to understand about our faith, about our beliefs, our fundamental beliefs. And there I learned to actually nurture my faith and to learn more about God. So that's how my conversion was. I got invited through a Revelation seminar, and the person who actually gave the seminar has actually become my spiritual father up until now, even until during my relationship with Jerald and until we were married. He was actually the one who officiated our wedding. So I think it was actually God's way too of directing me back to him. And yes, so that's it. So I hope that in your life you may sometimes be persuaded by the outside, but know that wherever you are in your life, whatever stage you are in, God will always have a way for you to come back, to call you back. So yeah, I hope that, or if you have anyone in mind that isn't yet in the light, so maybe God is working with them, or God might be working through you for them to come back. So I hope and pray that God will restore our souls, because he leadeth us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And then verse 4, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So this was actually the main inspiration for my message this evening. I was browsing through my phone, and I found this note that I had during my internship, my 4th year in med school, clerkship days, I mean. So it's about my East Ave Medical Center story. So I could still vividly recall this experience, and I'd like to start by sharing this with you. So it was dated November 29, 2015, my date, diba? And there's also a time. So I'd like to read to you what I wrote. This was a spur of the moment kind of thing, so pardon my thoughts. It was 4:30. It's 4:30 a.m. and here I am watching an intubated patient at East Avenue Medical Center on my last duty day. To see a father and daughter come together almost at the brink of hopelessness, trying to put a facade of unwavering strength, it pains my heart to see the reality of death's and even life's uncertainty. Behind the tears kept hidden by the daughter and the husband is a love overflowing for the patient. A love that painstakingly endures sleepless nights and endless hours of fasting, maybe because they didn't have anything to eat, waiting for the tiniest glimpse of hope to flicker. And so I thought, being a doctor, I could do so much more. But I realized that even I am powerless over death, that all I could do now is monitor, keep watch and pray, hoping with her family that the smallest bud of hope grow. For there is a greater being, our God, who holds each life so dearly. He gives and he takes, and we can only plead of his mercy. You, Lord, know better than I, but please equip me with a capable mind and heart that I may bless the patients I have and will be encountering. After an hour and a half of watching over the patient, we lost the fight with death. I remember so vividly, it was supposed to be an OB rotation, but I got pulled out to watch an internal medicine patient. It was bedside monitoring, and I was wearing my skirt. And at 4:30 or around 5 a.m., I called for a code. And you can imagine me going up the bed wearing a white skirt, bumping up, delivering CPR for the patient, and then asking someone else to call the resident to help me. It was probably one of the most eye-opening experience for me, because you actually come to realize that you have after all of the things that you studied, you're actually still powerless without God. So you see, but then you're reminded in this verse that death is but a shadow, and shadows never really harm us. They're just there. And with a shadow, it means that there's light, and that light is God. There can only be a shadow when there's God. So, and it can never harm you, right? So with light, shadows can also disappear. So it reminds me that no matter how uncertain life can be, no matter how we never know, we never really know when we will die or when our patients will die. Their lives are not in our hands, although temporarily they can be. We can give them medicines to prolong their lives, but at the end of the day, it's really God who decides for them, for us. So it's a reminder how we ought to live our lives as if each day is our last, and how we ought to treasure every moment, and how we ought to trust God in everything, that we don't know when He gives and He takes, but all that we could do is just accept that and trust that He has nothing but the best plans for us. I know some of us may have lost a loved one during this pandemic, or some of us may have even lost patients, or some kind of loss, experience a kind of loss that may have been difficult for us to understand. But we are reminded in this verse that it is but a shadow. It is temporary. It can disappear with light. So as long as we trust God, We have nothing to fear. We have to trust that He has the best plans for us. Next is, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Mine enemies. I don't know what your enemies are, but the major enemy that I may have struggled with was probably my self-esteem, which was severely tested during med school. Recalling back, as I've mentioned earlier, my first year was the whole year of my first year in medical school. Looking back, I can say and I could diagnose that I was for sure suffering depression. But what actually kept me from going further down was my relationship with God. I could remember days and nights when I would worship alone. I would look forward to days when my roommate would go home and I could just worship alone in the room and open my Bible, sing some hymns. And the only hymn that comes to mind each time is Anywhere with Jesus I Can Safely Go. And I could remember kneeling by the side of my bed and trying to sing it, trying to finish the song, and I never really got to finish it because it was a struggle for me. I was questioning everything, why I was there, why the Lord brought me there, why I had these grades, why everything happened as they happened. And it was probably the lowest of my life. I was feeling like I was the dumbest in class. So yeah, I don't know about you, or for some of you, you may have struggled with that, but you have to remember to always keep yourself grounded in the Lord and remember who you are. You are a child of the King. And that really helped me in my struggle too. And number 6, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Well, we are on that journey still right now. And looking back, I'd like to share my life now. I am here in a foreign land with my husband, starting a family. I am a licensed medical doctor in the Philippines, turned full-time mom here in the US, and I guess I'm also living my other dream. And I'm grateful that God actually brought us here. I have actually initially I was actually struggling with that fact because being a medical doctor in the Philippines, I come here with no license. I have yet to take my USMLEs, and it was a struggle at first because I was used to working. I was able to do some moonlighting in the Philippines, and here I am a full-time homemaker and a full-time mom. And initially, it felt like it was a whole new world for me. It was something that I needed to process. But I thank God that He gave me the grace and the mercy to actually accept this. And actually, now that I've come to accept that, I realize that this is probably His best plan for me at the moment, because this has been the most amazing journey in my life. All those failures, all those things in the past that actually led me to where I am now, to where He has brought me now, actually reminds me that if it's not happy, it's not the end, because God loves happy endings. So for me, it's like, it's not yet a happy ending, but it's more like, it's the kind of happiness and contentment that you get from trusting God with your life. So yeah, I think that's it. And should you have any questions, I will try to answer them. You can just message me. I'm sorry that I could not be able to join you today. I'm being a full-time mom. My time is not mine, it's my baby's. But I'm glad that my husband has been taking care of my child for me. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have been blessed. So as a recap, I hope that we stay positively positive in times of distress, in whatever times we are in our lives. I hope that we keep reminding ourselves of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So I hope that you find reassurance in that chapter, in that Bible chapter. It has been a great journey for me with God, and I hope that it will be an inspiring journey for you too, and that you'd also have something to share in the future with regards to the Psalm 23 of your life. So that's it. Thank you. I think my baby is crying now, so bye.